Hello everyone, my name is James Nussbaumer, and the reason for this video is that I want to express my disgust, my absolute disgust in how politics are going on in this country. When Hillary Clinton did not even get a slap on the hands for exploiting her emails to countries all over the world, including terrorists, it simply disgusts me. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the average Joe that they talked about on the news that would ordinarily have been put behind bars. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from a small town in Massillon, Ohio, a former financial advisor of 25 years, following service for my country in the United States Air Force, where I proudly served and was proudly, honorably discharged. Back in 2007, I was indicted for a foolish securities violation as a financial advisor, and I received a comparatively exorbitant sentence of 10 years in a state prison in Ohio. 10 years in prison for a foolish securities violation that happened to offset losses that I incurred for clients. But the entire amount of that money over what we're talking about is $128,000, not millions, $128,000 that I misappropriated, but that I had repaid totally. I owe no one. My victims who claimed that were victims in the incident were totally repaid. But I still was sentenced to 10 years in prison, where I served 8 years of the 10 because a forgiving judge had came out of retirement to relieve me from the sentence, the 10-year sentence after 8 years, that a example setter judge used me as an example. The severe sentence was overtly political, meant to set an example during a period of panic and abuses in the investment industry back at the time. Some months after, though, I found myself in prison at age 50 at that time. As I speak to you now, I'm age 58. I've only been out of prison now, as of the making of this video, for 13 months. I spent 8 years in a state penitentiary with hardened criminals. While I was away in prison with no computer at all whatsoever, I was able to write my first book called The Master of Everything, A Story of Mankind in the World of Illusion We Call Life, by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. The second book, which is just now released as of August 1st, called Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, is the sequel. Both of these books, which there is a third one on its way, are about forgiveness and not judging the world for the way things go. But, you know, I write about forgiveness, and I write about not judging, not passing judgment on others. But when I hear about how Hillary Clinton, because of who she is, jeopardizing our country, which in other people would have been accused of treason for what she had done. Now, you want to call that judgment? You can call it judgment. Am I a little bitter over my spending 8 years in prison? Yes. When I had to lose touch with my family and friends, lost everything that I'm about, and I rebounded by writing these books, which are hopefully going to hit the bestseller list, which is my goal. But I'm working like a mad dog trying to recover from 8 years in prison, counting on help from my family members because of 8 years in prison over $128,000. Was I guilty? You're damn right I was guilty. I made a mistake, a foolish mistake, but the money was totally repaid. But an example setter judge still wanted to sentence me to 10 years in prison. But then we see Hillary Clinton not even getting a slap on her hands for exposing her emails to who knows all over the world. You know, I was stunned when I went to prison and I saw what was going on around me. And I decided to just start writing about what I was seeing, about other people that I've run into that were overly sentenced for sure, guilty crimes that they did, but overly sentenced by judges and prosecutors that wanted to make a name for themselves in the state so they can get reelected. You know, along with frank descriptions of prison life, both of these books, The Master of Everything and its sequel, Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, both of these books, I share in The Master of Everything, the first book, what I spent every single day studying and writing about in the second book, Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, about the nature of the prison that we all virtually dwell in, a world of illusion where fear just drives us to make wrong turns and to live in despair. My time in prison was surely hell. There's no doubt about that. And also unexpectedly fruitful, because I chose it to be fruitful by writing by hand these books, where a publisher called Ozark Mountain Publishing Company came to me after years and years while in prison. From 2008 till 2014, I wrote week in and week out to publishers as I was writing these books to ask them if they would please consider publishing my books. I had enough letters I tell people, to wallpaper the entire prison that I lived in. In 2014, Dolores Cannon of Ozark Mountain Publishing Company came forward and offered me a contract for my books. She believed in what I was writing about. She saw my lack of judgment. She saw my willing to forgive a world that doesn't know how to forgive. While surrounded by the chaotic and volatile and often violent din of the cell block, I continued to write about redirecting the mental powers of our mistakes before we act them out. But now that I'm out of prison, I'm finding it very hard to get on my feet. I can't even find a regular job because I'm a felon. People don't want to hire a felon, no matter of what my background in my education is about. So I've decided my only way is to market my books. And I've got more books on the way out to discuss this very thing that I'm talking about here. This book right here, The Master of Everything, and its sequel, this is the beginning of an ever-developing series written from deep in the rabbit hole of the prison system, and real enough to where readers won't realize turning the pages on the way through my remarkable story. Is it a remarkable story? A remarkable story? Yes, it is. When I see how politicians like Hillary Clinton are just being let go of stupid mistakes. Let's face it, as human beings, we all make our mistakes. But when a man like I did can come forward and admit that he made mistakes and plead guilty to those mistakes and repay 100% of $128,000, thousands of dollars, not millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, $128,000. I still had to spend 8 years in prison. Though I'm a free man now, thanks to the forgiving judge that came out of retirement, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, because he found out about my accomplishments of writing these books while I was in prison. I now continue to operate on equal parts of determination, faith, while guiding my readers of these two fascinating books, guiding my readers to a supreme knowledge of their own. I at this moment, as I'm speaking to you, am working like crazy to market my books and get the word out, but my income is not there. I'm striving, I'm struggling, I'm trying to get there. I live in Massillon, Ohio, and I have 3 lovely adult daughters and 4 grandchildren. My public speaking is geared globally, but I'm finding that difficult to find speaking engagements because I can't afford a publicist to come forward and help publicize my efforts. But my lectures are instructive, challenging, humorous, and elevating, even though I hold a tremendous amount of bitterness inside of me for the 8 long years I had to spend in prison, where most of my peers were doing life sentences for murder and rape and the most ungodly kind of things you could ever think about. My inspirational messages, though in my books, take us on an inner journey to becoming what my first book was called, to becoming the master of everything. I'm available for interview for anyone of the media that would like to interview me. I invite you. I invite you because I feel my story is a great example not only of sentencing disparity with people that go to prisons in this world and in this country, especially the United States of America, which is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. We have a man, myself, I'm talking about, that lost everything. And at 59 years old now, a month from now, I will be, not even a month, less than a month. I'm losing track of time. I will be 59 years old. I lost everything. I started over. I pled guilty. I repaid the money of $128,000. We're not talking about millions. I spent 8 years in prison after the money was repaid. My point is that where is this country going to? I'm not taking one direction or not in this presidential campaign, Republican towards Democrat or Democrat at all. My point in this whole thing is, when are we as a country, as a whole people in this country, leaders of the world, going to finally say enough is enough of all this crap that's going on? I had a choice. I can choose to remain bitter for the rest of my life, or I can continue to write my books that are based on forgiveness and non-judgment. I hope you will join me in the Master of Everything series. And I hope that you will share this message. I hope that you will share what I have to say to everyone around the world, everyone especially in this country. I want the politicians in Congress, in the Senate, to hear what I have to say and to look into my situation. Not that I feel that I'm owed anything. No, that's not the point. The point is that I want to see less and less of this unjustness, this injustice that's going on in the country. I want to see it end. And I finally want to see the United States of America actually being the home of the free and actually being the home of the brave. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope you will join me in both of my books and the rest of them to come. Thanks again.